been in other time slots?
Say again, James?
How have the tubes gone in other time slots?
I was actually thinking, are you comfortable with us moving it forward to 1 p.m.?
Yes. I might be
Does that
eating
work?
lunch at the same time, but yes.
Okay, that's cool. You can just put your microphone on. No, I'm kidding. Um, yeah, I was just telling Chris because I can't remember who was online with us last time, but he was picking up his children. So maybe let's just push it forward an hour, and hopefully more people can attend. Um, but I did send that email out today to ask everybody to contact me who's still active in the course, so that I could put you into groups. Um, so I did get an email from John, and John was interested in working with children with intellectual disability, or so I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but Chris mentioned he wanted to work on children in sport. Um, so children.
I already coach that preschool children age group, so I'm happy to do children in sport as well.
Okay, awesome. So I'll put you two together, Chris and James. So
Sweet.
for you guys, what's important is you share your details. Obviously, you've got each other's Gmail address, that you just talk about what part of the assignment you want to do. So I'll just share my screen with you guys. So if you have a look at I'm sharing my screen, aren't I? I assume I am. Assessment. So you'll have to present on one of the 4 points. Now, if there's only 2 in the group, so at the moment there's just 2 of you, then you only present on 2 of these points. Oh wait, wrong assessment. Okay, so here's pretty much the points that each of you are going to allocate 1 each, and you're going to talk about that point for 5 minutes using research and that. So James and Chris, you need to work out which point you want to do. Now, if there's only 2 of you, I suggest nobody do point 3. I don't mind which of the 2 you pick out of the other 3. Point 3 doesn't require, I guess, it relies on others to do work and then put some goals together, whereas the other 3, which is quite a difficult thing to do, the other 3 probably give me more information about what you know about the population. Okay, so are you guys comfortable with, I guess you 2 can start in children, and working out what it is that you 2 want to do in terms of points?
Yes,
Yep,
I'm happy with
cool.
that for now.
Okay, awesome. I'll stop sharing. Also wanted to, so do you know how to, you've got each other's contacts? I mean, I don't want to share them online, but what I might do after this is, Chris and James, I'll send you each other's student emails. Okay, so you have that content. Okay. I also will send you information about how to use Google Doc, because you've got to do a handout together. So you just basically will share a document together. Do you guys know how to use Google Docs?
Loosely, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what it will mean is you'll have one handout and both of you can do the same thing, which is really quite handy rather than having to get a handout, make changes. So you kind of do it as you go. So I'll send you information out about that, and then also how to record your thing. So you will be pretty much doing what I'm doing with you guys. You'll be doing together in your own time. You can do it as long as you get it to me before week 11. You'll be recording your PowerPoint, so you share your screen like I do. You talk me through your PowerPoint. Make sure your PowerPoint's the same PowerPoint so it looks really professional, and then you'll pass it on to the next speaker, and that's the way it works. I might see if I can get one from last year up so that you can have a look at it and how they structured it. So I'll do that as well.
So will it be live or is it recorded?
No, I'm going to get you to record it. That way, it's not, if somebody can't get online, it's a headache. Okay. So when you 2 are ready, record it. You do pretty what I do when I put the link up to the online shoot that we've done for the week. That's pretty much what you'll just send me the link. What is it that I said I was just about to do? Google Hangout Docs.
Can I send our uni emails to each other?
Yes, emails to each other, something else. Doesn't matter, I'll figure it out. Okay, all right. Okay, let's get started with the shoot content. How to do the recording. Yeah, we've got that. Now, we're in this course. So we're going through week 3, aren't we, today?
Yes.
Okay, did you get the chance to fill out the big 5 factors, James? I know Chris has.
I did, yes.
Yes. Did you, did you find anything interesting about, the 5 factors identified have been the common factors that help determine or define personality, I guess. Did you find anything, did that pretty much agree with how you saw yourself, or?
Yeah, I've closed down the page. Oh, no, I haven't. It's here. Conscientiousness, which was number 4. I was in the 15th percentile, which is very, very low.
Yep.
That was probably the only one that surprised me a little bit. I thought I was a bit more conscientious than that, unless I've got the definition of conscientious wrong. But apart from that, it seemed pretty relatively accurate. Intellect and imagination was interesting because I would put them in 2 separate categories personally, but
I think you need to be quite intelligent to be able to imagine.
Oh yeah, fair point.
I don't know. I mean, again, this is not my area is performance psychology, but yeah, I do find it, even neuroticism and that it's interesting. Are you an extrovert or introvert?
Sorry, the microphone was off. Extrovert, 74th percentile.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
I was 19th percentile for extrovert.
Okay, cool. Did you find anything interesting about yourself, or something that you went, oh, that's not what I thought?
Not really. Oh yeah, the intellect and imagination one was higher than I was expecting, but that feels good, I guess.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, these tests are for you to get some insight, and for me, so James, you talk about conscientiousness. I guess for you, it's like, okay, well, this is an area that I'm going to work on then. And then, so I'm sure if you then do the test again, that your scores would be very different. But I guess it's an awareness issue. Like for me, I'd like to be aware, but I also hate finding out things about myself and go, oh, I didn't see myself like that. But stuff happens. All right, I'll share my screen again.
Just so you know, Karen.
Yep.
John has written something. He's on a different hangout or something like that. Get this notification saying John Glias is trying to say something.
Okay, let me have a look.
Just so you know.
You know what? I think I closed that screen, so that's. Oh, hang on, Karen. Maybe I should send him a link. Can you see me, guys, or can you see? Yeah.
Not at the moment.
Okay, good. Can you see my screen?
No, I just see a picture of a random person, not a person, an emoji.
Okay, cool. I don't know why that's happening, but okay, so online. I'll send him an email with the link. Where is John? Sorry, I won't be long. Okay. Okay. Okay, I've got his email. I'll send him an invite now. All right. Hopefully he gets that. Okay, so let's continue. And John, if you can't get on, I apologise. I'm trying. Can you see me now, guys?
Yeah, I can see you.
Now I can see Chris.
Oh, you can't see me, James.
I can now.
Okay. Well, as I was going to say, lucky you. All right, let me share my screen. And right, so now, obviously, listen to the lecture. We did that last week, so I will send an email after this confirming you two are in a group and share your details. I'll try and get in touch with the rest of the group. We've got about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in the course, but usually people start dropping out. So I don't want to, I mean, you two are regular, so let's lock you two in a group so you can start working on it, and we'll look at other groups later. So then we went through the workbook. So the workbook had a number of different activities. Obviously describing personality. There's so many words that we could use. Where is it? Workbook. So many different words we could use to explain how we define ourselves and define others. Am I sharing my screen with you guys? Yes. Okay. So we won't go through that, but obviously there's, we've got humorous, we've got boring, we've got intelligent, sarcastic. So I just wanted you guys to brainstorm some reasons why, some ways you'd explain people. The next little bit was about explaining why you think it's important to understand personality as either a coach, an educator, or a fitness trainer. I think I have a forum for you guys to do that, correct? Yes. No, I don't. Okay, so let's talk about that then. We'll start with coaches. Stop sharing. Why do you think it's important to understand personality as a coach?
With your coaching methods, you can change, if you're doing in small groups or in individuals, you can change the method depending on their personality.
Yeah.
I had 2 other points. Understanding athletes' reactions, whether it be to a defeat or to selection or something like that, and seeing if there's ways you can let them down easier. And explaining your decisions, or if you give someone feedback, or if you make a decision with regards to selection, you can explain it in a way that they can understand a bit easier.
Yeah, awesome. Chris, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, so it's sort of the same things with understanding how people learn and the best ways to sort of impart your knowledge. But I also had work out who's the best for certain roles. So like who's good at leading their team and who's good at like cool under pressure for like a penalty taker in football and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, both of you have contributed well as to why we need to understand personality as a coach. You will come across really interesting characters as you lead or whatever leadership role you take. And many times, like I've had an athlete who just couldn't get a play, and I thought, oh, she just doesn't care about basketball. What I did eventually find out is she had a learning difficulty, and so she couldn't actually learn the plays. So I thought she just didn't care, and it wasn't until maybe a quarter of the way through the season, the parent came up to me and said, oh, I didn't let you know, but my daughter has a learning difficulty. And so, well, that changes everything, doesn't it? Because I've been teaching her and working with her in a way that's not going to best help her learn. So that definitely will come into play. What about a teacher? Why do you think it's important to understand personality?
I put sort of to understand the best way to motivate their students. And the best way is to test knowledge, because like I know for a fact that I'm bad at both speeches and exams, but I'm pretty good at essays. Like that's my strong point. And like I know because my wife's a teacher, and I know that she. Sorry, dogs are going mental.
Okay.
And hold on, I'll get back.
Okay, I'll take on from there then.
Okay, James, go for it.
Probably on top of that is the best learning method. Some people learn by listening, some people learn by seeing, some people learn by doing. And you know, if you were a teacher of a class of say 20, if you've got 15 kids and you realise learn by doing, it's probably better to change the method for the majority of the group.
It's a great point, and sometimes I really enjoy it when I see classrooms that basically have assessment tasks that are designed for different ways of communicating their knowledge. So, Chris, you said you're really strong at essay writing. Some people are musical, some people, and when I see assessment tasks where the teacher gives you a selection of tasks that you can do, all addressing the different modes, and what you could, you know, some people are good at oral presentation, some people absolutely hate it. So allowing them to communicate to you the knowledge that they've learned through the method that they want is really powerful. I agree, sitting and doing an exam for 2 hours does not test how much you've learned, it just tests who's got the better memory. So I think at the end of the day, teacher, you are responsible for the education of the people in your classroom, and regardless of whether you like the 30 kids in the classroom or if you've got a little horrid, you are still responsible for their results. So parents and principal will look at you, so regardless of how you see your relationship, you have to make it work. You have to find a method to work with that kid. I once had, I was just casual teaching at that point in time, and I had a class, and I had a Year 7 group, and it was a science class, and a kid just returned from suspension, and I wasn't aware of the kid even being on suspension because I've never met this class before. Anyway, so I'm teaching this class, and I turn up early, and the student walks in, and he goes, "Hey, miss, you're new, gonna go have a cigarette," and walked out of my class. And I was like, what? What's just happened? And so the rest of the students come in. Now, I can't leave my classroom because I'm responsible for the 30 kids sitting on the seats. So I'm like, okay, so I'll send 2 kids over to the deputy, let the deputy know. I didn't even know the kid's name, but luckily they did. I said, can you go and report this? So I went to the staff room, and I explained to the head teacher what happened. She said, we're really sorry, we forgot to tell you that the kid has ODD, so really defiant, so won't listen to anything that you say. And so the next time I approached the classroom, I didn't just go, okay, sweet, here's the naughty kid. You know, as soon as he walked in, I said, oh, what do you think of the football? And he goes, oh, do you watch football, miss? I said, oh, yeah, because I knew he was into football because I could see it in his school bag and whatever. So I was just talking footy with him, and he actually went and sat down, and then he goes to me, I like talking football. I said, good on you. Like, you know, I'm happy to talk football with you. Just make sure you stay in my classroom. And he goes, I said, look, we've got work to do. And so the class is doing their work. And he said, miss, do you mind if I listen to music? I'm like, hell no. Please listen to music as long as you stay there and you work. And he sat there and he did all his work, and it was brilliant. But it wasn't until I realised I have to build some type of rapport to work with this kid. Regardless, I'm responsible. And that's what freaked me out, is like, one of the beginning teachers going, kids just walked out and went to go have a cigarette. So what do I do in that situation? But like I said, got to get to know the individual that you're working with. And then as a PT, now PT, this is your bread and butter. So first and foremost, you have to have a rapport if you want the clients to come back. And so it's really important that you understand personality, isn't it? What have you guys got to add to PT?
I sort of put out working the best way to train them and demonstrate skills and stuff to them, because like some people are more visual, some learn by doing the exercise under guidance and that sort of thing, and others, I guess, can take it in just from a description of how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very... on that sense, it's very similar to the educator, that people learn differently and can take it on differently. I kind of think it's similar to educator in many ways. You know, your motivation and the scenario that you used with that student that you taught football with, you're going to have similar as a PT anyway. You're going to have someone that might be it might be reluctantly coming to a PT because they've been instructed to, maybe by their partner or something like that, to get fit, and they might be reluctant, thinking it's not going to work, and you've got to win them over. And so you've got to find a way in, and whether it be, you know, a sport focus or something else, just to get them interested, basically.
Yeah, you've got to find that commonality that goes, I like Karen, I can connect with Karen, and I'll come back because I have that connection. I think that's really important. And you know, if you're going to make money, you actually have to build those connections and build that rapport with the clients that you're working with. And I agree, it's how to best work with that individual, motivate them. I don't know if I told you about when I got a massage once and my masseuse said to me, oh, you need to go see this personal trainer. He's brilliant. He gets up in your face. He yells at you, like this. And I just went, I couldn't think of anything worse. I'd hate a personal trainer like that. So for me, it was like, yes, that ticks your boxes, but that doesn't work for me. And as a personal trainer, having that awareness of what works for one person won't work for all is just so important. And it's going to actually help you generate your business and get something out of it by doing an individualized approach rather than this approach works for everybody, it's my way or the highway kind of approach. So, okay, does anybody want to contribute anything more about that?
I was just going to say that this current week 4's content sort of informs that a little bit, with the knowing what stage people and stuff are in of their change and that sort of thing, and I guess personality would come into that big time.
Absolutely, and it's good that they feed off each other, isn't it? Because we'll go into sort of explain personality, and when we go into next week, when you work with clients, if you are working with a sedentary individual, the thing is, how do I push them so that they actually become active? So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Chris. I did too. Actually, I just finished the lecture on it, face-to-face students, and it was. I love teaching about. I love learning about it. And I like how to work best with people. So, James, you'll get to see that when you watch that lecture. The quiz is available now. So when you guys are ready, make sure. One of the feedback that I got from one of the online students that started 3 weeks before you, he said to me, "Oh, look, I think he passed," and he said it actually caught me off guard because it took me longer to read through the questions and answer it than I expected. So I think that's really important, that you at least look at all your notes, learn it first, and then get online, because sometimes the psych questions are quite difficult to read, or you have to read them over a couple of times. So if you've got a minute per question, you can get stumped on that. Okay. So I think I've given you, where are we? I think I've given you yes. So I read a couple of your comments. I think, Chris, you've responded, and Reza has responded as well. Ultimately, whether you use a test to select an individual for a team or not, I know with the young, particularly gymnastics, and internationally, some of the institutes will, just go back to the screen, will do personality profiling to determine whether the athlete will be successful. It could be an Olympic athlete, right? And they also test the parents for that. So what do you think of that? So we're testing 3 to 4 year olds, whether they're going to be, or 5-year-olds, successful in their sport. So they'll do a personality profile of the child, but they'll also test the parents to determine whether they predict this athlete to be an Olympic champion.
I think that's pretty rough.
Changes. Sorry.
No, you go, James, you go.
I was going to say, surely your personality changes. The person I am now is significantly different from the person I was, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah. Chris, what were you going to say?
Well, I just think it's pretty rough on the kid to be subjecting them to that because, like, yeah, as James said, they're going to change. It's not like they're stuck in one spot.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be a super unmotivated person, but now I have the motivation to get on and do online study, which I imagine a lot of people who aren't motivated wouldn't do well with.
Yeah.
I guess as circumstances change, you're going to change as well. It's not a fixed thing that your personality is.
Perfect. You guys are right. Like, it's basically saying that statement is saying personality is the sole determinant of one's level of motivation and whatever. But when you really look at it, the environment also influences an individual's success or failure. So to say it's just personality profile, and also I'd be pretty peeved if my success in the future was also dependent on my parents' profile, that I know I'm very different to my parents in many aspects. So that based on their profile and my profile as a child, like you said, we morally develop, we physically develop, we mentally develop, we grow in confidence, we get shot down in confidence, like anything can happen. But I understand why they do it though, because they fund a lot of money. So it's kind of, they've got to do some type of filter system, but whether it's going to be accurate or not is really questionable.
Sorry, that American gymnast, I think it's Simone Biles in the Olympics.
Isn't she awesome?
Didn't she come from a horrible background?
I don't know about. Sorry,
she was adopted. I think I saw a thing like before she won her gold that she was like adopted or went through an orphanage and stuff like that and had a pretty rough childhood and was like a mum to her little sister at the age of like 6 or something like that. It was like, yeah, full on.
She is amazing. I've never seen such wonderful performances. She just nails it every time. You know what? If you go through that crap as a kid, you're going to be tough. She's probably entering the stage and this is easy. This is fun for her. Far out. That's amazing. I will check up on that and I will read up on that. I didn't know about that. I got caught up in the Campbell sisters and all that stuff. Geez, it's hard. I just watched the media jump on them straight away and I'm like, shit, give them a bit of time. Like, they need some time.
They had they've had similar tough lives as well. Not quite to that extent, but they've had tough lives, and they have a slightly different outlook in that, you know, one of the sisters, I can't remember which one, constantly says, if you think you're not going to make it unless you've got a gold medal, or you're not going to make it when you've got a gold medal, or whatever the word was. Like, they're just content with where they're at.
And the questioning, I listen to the media's stupid questions, like, or statements, don't worry, Australia will probably still love you. You know, like, why say that? They're goddamn athletes, that's what they are. Like, they're going to perform well, and they might not perform well, regardless of that outcome. They're still human beings first. And I really struggle when I listen to the media. It sends me insane, to be honest. I do want to put another point about that. Psychological tests should be used for personal development. It shouldn't be used for selection. So in your lecture slides, I've actually got, let me pull it up. Am I sharing the screen still?
Not at the moment.
Oh, you can see my head. Okay. I just pull it up. And this will answer. Oh, yeah. Week 3. I think I would have gone through this. I didn't go through it with the face-to-face group. Current slide. Let's share. So what I wanted to highlight is knowing when to use one, and one of the major points about the do's and don'ts is don't use it to select athletes. It should be used for personal development. I'll tell you a story about what happened when I was part of one of the programs as a kid. They used to put our results up, like, I'm not talking about psychological profiling, but they used to put our skin folds up, and all our results for, what do you call it, fitness testing. So I used to go into the institute, used to train. I felt like it was every week, but don't think it was that regular. It must have been every month, but it was such a traumatic experience. So what they used to do is after you were tested, they would just pick a war, boys and girls in basketball, fattest to skinniest, and stuck it up there. It was the most horrifying experience for a kid. It led to lots of eating disorders, particularly for the female athletes. And you kind of ask, what's the goddamn purpose of that? What they should have done is said, Karen, here's your scores. We're going to test you in 6 months, and we're going to see if you've got improvement. Here's some ideas to get it lower. That's what testing's about. Instead, they use it as a comparison, and there's no way physically that I'd either match the skinniest person in the team who has completely different genetics, nor the person who's the largest person. So for me, it was like the purpose of the testing. I was talking to Mum recently, and Mum said to me, I didn't know she did this, but she asked me, like, there's many times I was driving to the camps, and I was in tears, and she said, what's wrong? Why don't you want to do it? And I just go, I hate it. I just hate it. And I didn't really speak about it much. And I think I eventually told her. Anyway, 2 years ago, she told me that she actually rang Basketball New South Wales or Basketball Australia and said, pretty much, my daughter has an eating disorder because of you. How dare you do that to them? I will sue you if you don't, and basically whatever. My mum's Scottish, so she's got a temper. And so she just went for town. Anyway, the next year I noticed they had changed it. They didn't put the things publicly anymore. And I was like, oh, thank God. But I didn't realise probably Mum was behind that because she did that. But it was absolutely, guys, it was so traumatic. I've never, ever felt like terrible before. And boys and girls are looking at each other's scores, and it was just absolutely disgusting. That's why I became a sports psych. That was one of the big examples of what not to do, that I will never let kids go through that again. And being 14 years old, that's just a no-no. So my point is, for personal development, that's what it should be about.
I take your point completely. Can you use a psychological test to confirm a gut feel?
Yeah, look, if you're going to use the psychological test to go an awareness, and then, okay, yep, sweet, that is definitely happening, let's put strategies in to develop it, spot on. But if you're doing it as Karen's a choke, I'm going to test to see if she's a choker, you're not going to make the cut. That's what it shouldn't be about. It should be, Karen's a choker, we've identified that she struggles, let's train her to be better under pressure, and then let's retest her to see if it's improved. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, but at the elite level, for example, if you've got a team where someone you just feel, like if we use that as an example, is the choker, I'm playing devil's advocate here, and you've got a big game coming up, and that this player is doing everything right except in the tough moments when he chokes in theory. Can you use that as just to back up your gut feel with selection?
To be honest, James, I would judge that on his performance then. I wouldn't judge it on a pen to paper test. That's the difference. Pen to paper test, you can lie. I swear to God, I lied throughout my whole thing. I looked at the coach and went, what does the coach want? And I filled it in. I never once answered it. But I'm an individual, but I can see many people will forge answers to make sure that they look good in front of the coach. I would utilise, so I'd look at the pen and paper test and go, okay, Karen's struggling with pressure, but I'll also watch. And if the observation matches, then you've got a solid, clear picture of the athlete. The other thing I would do is ask previous coaches. So I'll get other people's experience, I'll watch it, and I'll have a look at a pen to paper test. I mean, I do pen to paper test with the athletes in induction at the Institute. I will give them a depression, anxiety and stress scale. So that is for me to tick box mental health and just be aware of anybody suffering negative effects. And I also give them, did you fill it out this, I don't think you filled it out this week. You will fill out a psychological skills questionnaire. Did you? No, you wouldn't have filled it out. I think I've got it in week 6 for you. And we'll work through that, and I'll talk about what I utilise that for. But the do's and don'ts, so I did go through this in your lecture. Oh no, share. So pretty much make sure the things that could go wrong with personality testing, you don't know what it's about. So make sure you tell them what the purpose is, exactly what you're testing, and how is it going to be utilised. So who's going to see it? That's where people freak out. I mean, test, when you put it in front of somebody, creates anxiety. So it's about working through that. Allow only qualified individuals who have an understanding of the actual measurement, the instrument, and how to test should be doing it. Integrate personality tests with other information obtained. And James, this is where I was on the point of I wouldn't just solely judge it. I would also use my observations and feedback from other coaches to get that decision. Use sport-specific measures. They're so much more better at predicting behaviour when you use something from sport. But it depends on if your sport has a test designed. Use both trait and state. Provide. This is where I went, what the hell, when I did tests and I got no feedback. I have done so many pen to paper tests and I have not received anything. So what was the purpose of the test? Because if it's for development, what am I supposed to develop when I'm not aware? And then this is where the skin fold example, why are we comparing across individuals? It's outrageous. Let's compare the person to their own past performance. And then the don'ts. Don't use clinically, don't use a schizophrenia test with the average population. You're going to get abnormal results. Don't use a personality test to decide who makes a team. Don't interpret it unless you're qualified. And don't use personality tests to predict behaviour in sport and exercise settings without considering observations that you've seen and performance assessments or feedback from others. And I guess more importantly for me, don't breach confidentiality. And I think that's something that I make sure my athletes understand, because if I don't say that, they're not going to follow it in honestly. I had one of my mates was like, oh, Karen, can you come and help me do my personality? She had to do a personality test, and I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I've got to do it to get a job. Can you fill it in for me? And I just went, I don't know what the organisation wants. And you know what? If you don't answer it honestly, what if the job doesn't match you? The test is designed not just for the organisation, but for you. So if you don't, so for example, if it's a management position and you fake it that you're a good manager and then you get put in the role, you're going to hate life. And she's like, oh yeah, actually I didn't think of it like that. So we've got to consider, I mean, they're designed for something, but the scariness goes in where people, for jobs, I've sat an aptitude test, but I never got any feedback about it. So what happens with that information? So yeah. Anyway, interesting. I find it all interesting. I find it valuable, but I also find it. What are people doing with it? So it's very dangerous when it gets into people's hands who are not qualified. All right. What else did we do? Share screen. Okay. Oh yeah. So if you get a chance, just have a go with that. Oh, did you like Michael Jordan? Did you get to watch it?
Yeah, that was really cool. He's a hell of a dude.
Oh my God, the way he looks at life. James, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, it's just, I sort of had an idea about it anyway, but yeah, it just backs up what I felt about him anyway.
So optimistic, so unbelievably, oh my God, even when he talks about his father's death, the way he interprets it, and it's just amazing. I don't know if I could do that. I don't think I could. So it's just, I just took a lot. I mean, I know it's like Michael Jordan's old and whatever, but far out, that approach was so successful. The thing that, sorry.
No, it's just, so is that genetic or is that learnt?
I'd say a bit of both, because don't forget they spoke about genetically. I think he had fire that mongrel that, you know, he was told, you're the worst shooter, you're not a good defender, and ends up being the best in both areas. So he had the drive, but he also had the environment. And I think I liked it when Phil Jackson was talking about Zen, being Zen and the Buddhist approach, and I thought that was really interesting too, being in the moment. So he learnt skills as well to be successful. It's a bit of both. So, yeah, so I just thought that was really quite valuable, watching the struggles, watching the media say he's an embarrassment to baseball. Unbelievable. How many athletes can go across sports and be able to represent at such a high level?
We're doing the same with Jared Hayne at the moment.
Again, same. Like, look at him. How can you just go, I mean, he didn't make the Fiji team, but they've been training for 4 years for that. But to be able to go to NFL, where does he go? He's in NRL now, Gold Coast. That's a good option. I'd like to be the Gold Coast if I was an NRL player.
The media seems to just like to have someone to drop shit on, though, like, which is disgusting, because if they're too busy looking at all the negatives instead of celebrating people for what their achievements are, which I think, like...
Don't forget, Chris, they're trying to create a story. So even watching, is it Horton? Yes, he did say that thing. Why are you still carrying it on? That swimmer was no longer, didn't actually qualify for the final, and they're still bringing up the topic of whoever was it the Chinese swimmer or Japanese? Yeah.
Chinese dude.
Why are you bringing that up? He's focused on his race plan and how he's going to win the race. I'm really struggling hearing me. Okay. So, sorry, I got a text from John. So, okay. Oh, could you guess what so I got you to fill out a questionnaire. Could you guess what it was?
I sort of thought it might have been like almost like a risk assessment, just to see if people are willing to take risks or just stick in their comfort zone.
Well done. Well done. Yes, that's what it is. I'll just pull it up. This was testing risk-taking behaviours. Why do you think it's important? Oh, sorry, I already said that. Why would you want to know this as a coach?
Well, I sort of thought that maybe, like, what sort of people would be able to step up during matches and stuff and take those risks to score those goals or whatever, and as opposed to just sort of staying within themselves and not really lifting to the occasion that they need to lift to.
Perfect. You need to find the Michael Jordans. You need to know who's going to be comfortable going, give me the ball, I've got this.
And there's also a place for the safe people as well, like to follow structure. And they could almost be the, and I might be wrong here, but they could be the leaders that will just keep the team on the straight and narrow, and then you have the flair to get you over the edge. Because
sometimes the flair isn't good. Like, sometimes the flair is at the wrong time, but you still want those people that will take that risk. You can't afford to have a bunch of passengers waiting for somebody else to step up.
From an Aussie rules background, they've occasionally done basically all Aboriginal side versus an Anglo-Saxon side, all Australian side, and the Aboriginal nature is flair and
it's erratic.
Yeah, and then you've got for lack of a better term, the white boys who don't have as much flair, don't have as much speed, but they have their structures in place, and it's a completely different. But you can't have all of it. It just doesn't work. You can't have all flair, and you can't have all structure. You've got to have a bit of both to make it work.
So it's either you have a robot, or you have somebody who's erratic and unpredictable. But for the coach, it's about finding the balance. But sport's amazing. Like I was talking to one of the water polo girls this morning, absolutely just distraught. Like, Olympics are done, basically. And it was about saying, you know what, at the end of the day, it's like playing chess. They make you make a move. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But it doesn't affect the self-worth. It doesn't change you as a person. It for that moment in time, it just didn't get pulled. It just wasn't pulled off. And I know at the elite sport, we're expecting it to happen. Sometimes it happens, but sometimes it doesn't. I struggle when I watch athletes only see themselves as athletes. So when things go to crap, they are likely to experience depression, be suicidal, drug abuse, because people only, and the media is a good promoter of this, they don't only see themselves as a bloody athlete, and that's it. And as well. But there's lots of reasons why I became a sports psych. Look, that's really what we did today, and I got you to do a self-awareness questionnaire. So that's just for you. But I often get athletes to do a scout report, and I'll say, right, okay, so you're the Australian coach. You tell me why you will be selected, and tell me why I might miss out on selection. So they have to put the coach's hat on and go, okay, coach sees this, coach doesn't see this, and therefore, so it gives them a really good, realistic evaluation of outside their shoes into the coach's shoes, what are they wanting? And so sometimes by promoting those kind of questions, the athlete would go, oh, at times I'm late. And so if I said what your strengths and weaknesses are as a player, the player would just go, oh yeah, I'm a good decision maker, blah, 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 but they wouldn't touch on those discipline kind of behaviours that coaches expect. Okay, I think that's it. Do you guys want to talk about anything else? Just have a look at this.
Sorry, I just want to add something about the personality tests for athlete selection.
Yeah.
And you were saying about parents being tested.
Yep.
I was watching a documentary called Trophy Kids.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Netflix, and the parents on that are psychos. Like,
what's it about?
It's essentially those like psychotic parents in the States that live vicariously through their kids. And like there's this one dad that's like calls his daughter, like drops the C-bomb in front of his daughter because she missed a putt in golf, and his daughter's like 8 or something like that. Like, it's savage, and like the dad's like losing it. Like, oh, it's crazy. But it's really eye-opening to see that these kids, even as good as they are, like their parents are the ones pushing them and are like, look, this is what we've worked for, don't let us down sort of thing. It's not don't let yourself down or whatever, or this is what you want, this is what we want, we're working for this. Like the parent is put so much of themselves into their kid that they think their kid's failing is them failing or something. I don't know. It was really good to watch though.
I was actually on Netflix last night thinking about what to watch, so we'll have a look at it. Do you know, once I worked with a tennis player. Tennis is really expensive, and I'm sitting there and I was having a session with her, and she burst out in tears and she said to me, I have to succeed in this sport, Karen, because my mum and dad have the house on the line. And I was like, what? She's 14 and she's basically in control of whether they keep or lose their house. That is effed up. So,
well, that's just the same as starving people in Africa who have to get a job to keep their family alive, and they're 12. It's exactly the same.
Yeah. It's predicaments that people are put into, and
I reckon there's more examples like that than we know, especially in individual sport like tennis, like in the Eastern European countries, and golf to an extent. There'd be a lot of instances like that, I'd imagine.
Oh, different approaches too. Don't forget, Australia's so much nicer now with the coaching styles. We've gone from the old school to a very new way of approaching, which a lot of people say, well, look at the athletes we're producing now, they're a little bit soft. But the European way, I don't think they're very dictatorship, and particularly the Chinese, different culture, but they're producing the results, aren't they? So, I don't know. Lots of questions. It'll be interesting to see the reflection they have post this Olympics, and they say they're spending money, but I don't think they're spending enough money in this area at all. So it'd be great to see. Unfortunately, AFL's not in it. It would have been good to see us win a gold there.
You'd hope so.
All right, guys. Look, I will send you an email in the morning about your group, and I'll share your email addresses. I will probably touch base with other people, see if anybody wants to join you on that, and I'll start sending you some information about how to. Maybe in one of the tutes that are a bit shorter, I'll show you how to do it, and then I'll send you a paper trail of how to do that. Okay.
Awesome.
Karen.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. See you later, Karen. See you, James.
See you, Chris.
See you
See
later.
you, James. Bye.